Jiwon sat at her station watching the screens that showed space around their ship. She had been doing this job for many years. Every day was the same. Look at the screens. Check for signals. Write reports. Nothing exciting ever happened in this part of space. The Vellani people were peaceful. They had never fought wars like some other species. They explored space to learn and make friends. Their ship, the Gentle Current, was built for science, not fighting. It had no weapons, only tools for studying planets and stars. Captain Hyunwoo walked around the bridge checking on his crew. He was a kind leader who cared about everyone on the ship. Today seemed like any other day until Jiwon saw something strange on her screen. "Captain," she called out, "I am getting a signal from far away." Hyunwoo came over to look. "What kind of signal?" "It is not clear," Jiwon said, touching buttons on her control panel. "The signal is very weak. It came from a star system many light years away." The signal appeared on the main screen. It looked like random noise, but Jiwon knew it was more than that. She had studied many different types of communication. This was definitely made by intelligent beings. "Can you tell what it says?" Hyunwoo asked. Jiwon worked hard to clean up the signal. She used the ship's computer to remove the static and background noise. Slowly, the signal became clearer. She could see it had patterns that looked like language. "I think it is a distress call," she said after studying it for a long time. Minji, the ship's language expert, came over to help. She was very smart and knew how to understand new languages. The Vellani had met many different species, so they were good at learning how others communicated. "Let me see," Minji said, taking over the controls. She ran the signal through their translation computer. The machine tried to match the patterns with known languages. The computer worked for several minutes. Then words appeared on the screen, but they were mixed up and hard to understand. "Warning. Heavy forces. Combat ready. All units," the translation showed. "This is strange," Minji said, looking confused. "Some parts make sense, but others do not." Captain Hyunwoo read the words carefully. "It sounds like someone is in trouble. Maybe pirates are attacking them." This worried the crew. The Vellani knew that pirates existed in some parts of space. They were bad people who stole from others and hurt innocent beings. The Vellani always tried to help when they could. "Where did this signal come from?" Hyunwoo asked. Jiwon checked her instruments. "A star system called Sol. I have never heard of it before." "Me neither," said Minji. "It is not in our star charts." The signal kept coming. More words appeared as the computer tried to translate them. The message seemed to be about fighting and weapons and being ready for battle. To the Vellani, this sounded like people asking for help against attackers. "Should we answer them?" Jiwon asked. Captain Hyunwoo thought about it. The Vellani had rules about helping others. If someone was in danger, they should try to help. But their ship was not built for fighting. They had no weapons and only a small crew. "We cannot fight pirates," he said, "but maybe we can get help from others." The Vellani belonged to a group of peaceful species called the Harmony Alliance. When one member was in trouble, others would come to help. But this signal came from beings they had never met before. "Wait," said Minji, working on the translation. "I think I understand more now. Let me try a different approach." She changed the computer settings and ran the signal through again. This time more words made sense. Fleet exercises, battle readiness, full combat deployment. "They are definitely being attacked," Hyunwoo said. "This sounds like a military situation." The Vellani did not really understand military situations. They had small police ships to deal with criminals, but nothing like real warfare. The idea of big battles in space was scary to them. "Captain," Jiwon said, "should we send a message back?" Hyunwoo nodded. "Yes, tell them that help is coming. We will contact the Alliance and see what ships are nearby." Jiwon began preparing a message. She wanted to let these unknown beings know that friendly people had heard their call for help. She used their standard first contact protocols, which were designed to be peaceful and welcoming. But there was a problem. The Vellani communication system was not made for this kind of long-distance messaging. Their signal had to travel through space for many days to reach the Sol system. During the long journey, the message would get weak and might be changed. "I am sending our reply now," Jiwon said. The message that left their ship was simple and kind. It said, "We have received your distress call. Peaceful friends are coming to help. Please remain calm and wait for assistance." But space was big and full of interference. Radio waves from stars, cosmic dust, and other sources could change signals as they traveled. The Vellani message would arrive at Earth very different from what they sent. Meanwhile, the crew of the Gentle Current kept watching the signals from the Sol system. They were getting more messages that their computer tried to translate. The words seemed to be about military formations, weapon systems, and battle preparations. "These poor people," said Minji. "They must be very scared." "How many ships do you think are attacking them?" Jiwon wondered. Captain Hyunwoo shook his head. "I do not know. But from these messages, it sounds like a big battle." None of the Villani realized their mistake. They thought they were receiving distress calls from a species under attack. In reality, they were intercepting routine military communications from Earth's space fleet during training exercises. Admiral Dongyun of Earth's 7th Fleet was conducting war games near Proxima Centauri. His ships were practicing formations and testing their weapon systems. The radio chatter between ships was normal military communication, not calls for help. But the Villani translation computer had no way to know this. It tried to make sense of human military language using its database of peaceful diplomatic communications. Words about engagement became under attack. Terms like full deployment became requesting all possible help. The misunderstanding was complete. The Villani thought they had found a species in desperate need of rescue. Earth's military computers, when they received the Villani reply, would interpret it as something entirely different. As the Gentle Current continued monitoring the signals, Captain Hyunwoo made his decision. "Contact Alliance Command," he told Jiwon. "Tell them we have found a new species under attack by pirates. They will need immediate assistance." Jiwon sent the message to Alliance headquarters. Soon, the peaceful species of the Harmony Alliance would know about the situation in the Sol system. They would want to help just as the Villani did. But none of them knew what was really happening. Earth was not under attack. There were no pirates. Admiral Dongyun's fleet was just doing training exercises, preparing for threats that might never come. The stage was set for the biggest misunderstanding in galactic history. Admiral Donghyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his fleet practice battle formations. The 7th Fleet was Earth's finest military force. 47 heavy cruisers moved through space like a deadly dance, their weapons systems ready for anything. "All ships report ready." "Admiral," said Commander Jinwoo from his station. "Good," Donghyun replied. "Begin exercise sequence 7. The war games had been going on for 3 days. Earth's military leaders wanted their fleets to be prepared for any threat. Space was dangerous, and humans had learned to be ready for trouble. Lieutenant Yuna sat at the communications station, monitoring radio traffic between the ships. Every captain reported their status regularly. "Weapons ready. Shields up. All systems working perfectly." "Admiral," Yuna called out suddenly, "I'm getting a strange signal." Dongyun turned to look at her. "What kind of signal?" "It is coming from very far away, sir." "Not from any of our ships." Yuna worked at her controls, trying to make the signal clearer. "It seems to be trying to communicate with us." This was unusual. Earth's fleets operated far from home, but they rarely met other ships in deep space. Most human colonies knew where the military exercises happened and stayed away. "Can you translate it?" Dongyun asked. "Working on it, sir." Yuna fed the signal into the ship's computer system. Earth had the best translation technology in human space. They could understand dozens of alien languages from species they had met before, but this signal was different. The computer worked hard to match the patterns with known languages. Finally, words appeared on the screen. "Peaceful friends, coming to help." "Fleet strength assessment requested." Dongyun read the message carefully. "Fleet strength assessment?" Commander Jinwoo came over to look. "Sir, this sounds like first contact with a new alien species." "And they are asking about our fleet strength?" Donghyun was puzzled. Why would aliens want to know how strong Earth's military was? Lieutenant Yuna continued working on the translation. More words became clear. Military assistance needed. Show of force required. Raiders eliminated. Raiders? Dongyun's expression changed. Are they asking us to help fight raiders? This was a serious situation. If a new alien species was asking Earth for military help, it meant they were in real trouble. Pirates and raiders were always a problem in space. Many peaceful species could not defend themselves properly. "Sir," said Yuna, "the signal is definitely asking for military assistance against hostile forces." Dongyun made a quick decision. "Get me Dr. Suman from the Xenobiology department." Dr. Suman was Earth's leading expert on alien contact. She had studied dozens of different species and knew how to handle first contact situations. Her job was to make sure humans did not accidentally start wars with new aliens. Dr. Suman speaking, came her voice over the communication system. Doctor, we have received what appears to be a request for military assistance from an unknown alien species, Dong-Yun explained. They seem to be under attack by raiders. There was a pause. That is very serious, Admiral. What exactly did they say? Yuna read the translated message to Dr. Suman. The scientist listened carefully to every word. This is clearly a request for help, Dr. Suman said. If they are asking for a show of force against raiders, they must be in desperate trouble. Their own defenses are probably not strong enough. What do you recommend? Dong-Yun asked. We should respond immediately, she said. If we can help a peaceful species fight off raiders, it will show them that Earth is a good friend to have. This could be the start of an important alliance. Dong-Yun agreed. Earth had built its reputation by helping others. When peaceful species were attacked by pirates or raiders, Earth's military was always ready to help. It was the right thing to do. Very well, he said. We will respond to their request, but this would not be a small response. If these aliens were asking for a demonstration of fleet strength, they needed to see what Earth could really do. Half measures would not impress anyone or scare away serious raiders. Commander Jinwoo, Dong-Yun said, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need immediate reinforcement for a first contact military assistance mission. Yes, sir. What kind of reinforcement? Dong-Yun thought about it. The aliens had specifically asked for a show of force. They wanted to see Earth's military capabilities. This meant sending enough ships to handle any raider threat. Full deployment, he decided. I want every available ship in this sector. Jinwoo looked surprised. Sir, are you sure? Full deployment means... I know what it means, Dong-Yun said firmly. These aliens asked for military assistance against raiders. We are going to give them exactly what they requested. The message went out to Earth's military command. Within hours, the response came back. Earth would send everything they had in the area. Dr. Suman arrived on the flagship by shuttle a few hours later. She wanted to be present for this historic first contact. Meeting a new alien species was always exciting, but helping them fight raiders made it even more important. Have you learned anything more about them? She asked Admiral Dong-Yun. Only that they seem to be peaceful and are clearly outgunned by whatever raiders are attacking them, he replied. They keep asking about our fleet strength and requesting assistance. That makes sense, Dr. Suman said. They probably want to know if we are strong enough to help them. Raiders can be very dangerous. Sergeant Taehyun from the Marines came to the bridge to give his report. Sir, all Marine units are ready for deployment. We have assault shuttles prepared in case we need to board enemy ships. Good, Dong-Hyun said. We may need ground forces if the raiders have taken any planets or stations. Ships began arriving from all over the sector. Heavy cruisers, battleships, carriers, and support vessels. The 7th Fleet grew larger and larger as more ships joined them. Commander Jinwoo kept count of the arriving vessels. Admiral, we now have 47 heavy cruisers, 23 dreadnought battleships, 156 fighter squadrons, and 12 carrier groups. What about the siege platforms? Dong-Hyun asked. 3 are on their way, sir. They should arrive within 6 hours. Dr. Suman was impressed. This is quite a force, Admiral. Are you sure we need this many ships? Doctor, these aliens specifically requested a demonstration of our fleet strength, Dong-Hyun explained. They need to know that Earth has enough power to handle any raider threat. And the raiders need to know that attacking our new friends was a big mistake. The assembly continued. More ships arrived every hour. Earth's military was taking this first contact very seriously. If aliens were asking for help against raiders, they would get the best help Earth could provide. Lieutenant Yuna monitored communications from the alien species. More signals kept coming, but they were hard to translate. The messages seemed urgent and worried. They sound scared, she reported to Admiral Dong-Hyun. The latest signals mention evacuation procedures and emergency protocols. The raiders must be winning, Dong-Hyun said grimly. We need to move faster, Dr. Suman agreed. If they are evacuating, the situation is very serious. We should depart immediately. All ships report ready for jump, Commander Jinwoo announced. The fleet is assembled and waiting for orders. Dong-Hyun looked at the display showing his massive fleet. It was the largest force Earth had ever assembled for a single mission. But if these aliens needed help, they would get it, Set course for the coordinates they provided, he ordered. Maximum speed. These people have been waiting long enough. The fleet prepared for the jump to faster-than-light travel. In a few hours, they would arrive at the alien system and meet this new species face to face. None of them realized the truth. There were no raiders. The aliens were not under attack. The Villani had simply misunderstood Earth's military exercises and thought they were distress calls. Earth was about to make the most overwhelming first contact in galactic history, all because of a translation error. Captain Hyunwoo sat on the bridge of the gentle current, watching the peaceful Villani homeworld below. Their planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents covered in cities that looked like gardens. No weapons, no military bases, just a world where people lived in harmony. Any word from the Alliance Command? He asked Ji-won. They said help is coming, she replied. Several species are sending ships to assist the beings in the Sol system. Hyunwoo nodded. He felt good about helping others, even if the Villani could not do much fighting themselves. At least they had alerted the Alliance to the problem. Ji-won continued monitoring signals from the distant Sol system. The messages were getting stronger, which meant ships were coming closer to their space. She assumed these were the raiders getting ready to attack the peaceful aliens there. Captain, she said with worry in her voice. The signals from Sol are getting much stronger. I think the raiders are bringing more ships. How many more? Hyunwoo asked. Ji-won worked at her controls, trying to count the different signal sources. I cannot tell exactly, but there are many. Much more than before. This was bad news. If the raiders had brought a bigger fleet, the peaceful species in Sol system would be in even more danger. Hyunwoo hoped the Alliance ships would arrive in time to help. Suddenly, space near their homeworld began to shimmer. The air seemed to bend and twist as something prepared to emerge from faster-than-light travel. Hyunwoo had seen this many times before when ships arrived in their system. Someone is coming out of FTL, Ji-won announced. Must be the Alliance ships, Hyunwoo said with relief. Finally, help has arrived for those poor people in Seoul, but something was wrong. The space distortion was much bigger than normal. Much, much bigger. It stretched across their entire viewing screen and kept growing. Ji-won, Hyunwoo said slowly. How big is that FTL signature? Ji-won checked her instruments twice to make sure they were working correctly. The numbers did not make sense. Captain, this is impossible. The signature indicates a massive fleet. Hundreds of ships. Hundreds. Hyunwoo stood up from his chair. Are you sure? Yes, sir. And they are all very large ships. Much bigger than anything in our database. The space distortion reached its peak and then the arriving fleet began to appear. First came the lead ships, massive vessels covered in armor and weapon ports. Then more ships appeared, and more. And more. Hyunwoo stared in shock as the largest military fleet he had ever imagined materialized in space around their peaceful homeworld. The ships were like floating cities made of metal and weapons. Each one was bigger than the Villani's largest space stations. By the stars, whispered Minji from her language station. What are those? The ships kept appearing, huge battleships with enough weapons to destroy planets, carriers launching clouds of smaller fighter craft, support vessels that were larger than most species' biggest warships. Captain, Ji-won said in a small, scared voice, I count over 200 ships. All of them are military vessels. All of them have their weapons powered up. On the surface of the Villani homeworld, people began to notice the massive fleet hanging in their sky. Panic spread through the cities as millions of peaceful beings looked up to see the most terrifying sight in their history. Admiral Dong-yun stood on the bridge of Seoul's Hammer, looking at the planet below. It was a beautiful world, clearly inhabited by an advanced civilization. But something was wrong. Commander Jinwoo, where are the raiders? He asked. Jinwoo checked his sensors carefully. Admiral, I am not detecting any hostile ships. No raiders. No pirates. No enemy vessels of any kind. What about battle damage? Are there any signs of fighting? No, sir. The planet appears undamaged. Their orbital facilities are intact. There are no debris fields or weapon signatures. Dr. Suman joined them on the bridge, looking confused. This does not match what we expected. If raiders were attacking this system, we should see evidence of combat. Admiral Dong-hyun was puzzled. The alien species had clearly requested military assistance against raiders. They had asked for a demonstration of fleet strength. But there were no raiders anywhere to be found. Lieutenant Yuna, he said, try to contact the local ships. Ask them about the raider situation. Yuna sent a message toward the small vessel orbiting the planet. It was clearly not a military ship. It looked more like a research vessel or transport. On the gentle current, Ji-won received the incoming message. But when their computer tried to translate it, the results were terrifying. Target identification required. Locate enemy forces. Prepare for elimination. Captain Hyunwoo read the translation with growing horror. The massive fleet was asking them to identify targets for destruction. They wanted the Villani to point out who should be attacked. They think we are the raiders, Minji said, her voice shaking. But we are not, Hyunwoo protested. We sent them a peaceful message asking for help. The translation must have been wrong, Ji-won realized. Our message was changed during transmission. They think we are the ones who called for help, but they also think we might be the threat. The situation was getting worse by the minute. More alien ships kept appearing as the massive fleet completed its arrival. The Villani had never seen so many weapons in one place. Each of the lead battleships had enough firepower to destroy their entire civilization. Captain, Ji-won said urgently, I am detecting high-energy readings from their weapons systems. They are scanning our planet. On other Villani ships throughout the system, panic was spreading. Transport vessels began fleeing toward the outer planets. Space stations started emergency evacuation procedures. The normally peaceful space traffic became chaotic as everyone tried to get away from the terrifying alien fleet. Admiral Dong-hyun watched the local ships scattering in all directions. This looked like evacuation behavior. But why would civilians be evacuating if the raiders were gone? Sir, Commander Jinwoo reported, multiple ships are leaving the planet. It looks like a mass evacuation. From raiders that are not here? Dr. Suman was confused. This does not make sense. Maybe the raiders left when they detected our fleet approaching, suggested Jinwoo. But then why are the locals still evacuating? Dong-hyun wondered. The truth was simple but terrible. The Villani were evacuating because they thought the Earth fleet was there to conquer them. A force this large could only have one purpose in their minds: invasion. Lieutenant Yuna received another message from the small research vessel. The translation was desperate and pleading. Peaceful intentions. No conflict required. Surrender negotiations. Admiral, she reported. They are trying to surrender. Surrender. Dong-hyun was shocked. Why would they want to surrender? We came here to help them. Dr. Suman thought about it. Maybe they think we are the raiders. But that makes no sense. They specifically asked us for military assistance. The misunderstanding was complete and terrifying. The Villani thought they had accidentally called for help from the wrong people. Instead of getting peaceful assistance, they had summoned the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. Captain Hyunwoo made a desperate decision. Send a message to all Villani colonies in nearby systems, he ordered. Warn them about these aliens. Tell them to prepare their defenses. But the Villani had no real defenses. They were a peaceful species. Their idea of military force was a few small patrol ships with light weapons for dealing with criminals. Against Earth's massive fleet, they might as well have been throwing rocks at a mountain. Captain, Minji said, working frantically at her translation computer. I am trying to send a clearer message. Maybe I can fix the communication problem. Do it quickly, Hyunwoo said, watching more Earth ships arrive, before they decide to attack. On the flagship Seoul's Hammer, Admiral Dong-hyun was getting frustrated. Nothing about this situation made sense. The aliens had asked for help against raiders, but there were no raiders. They were evacuating their planet even though no one was attacking them. And now they were talking about surrender. Commander, scan the outer system, he ordered. Maybe the raiders are hiding behind one of the moons. The Earth fleet spread out to search for threats that did not exist. Their massive ships moved through space like hunting predators, sensors scanning for enemies they would never find. Dr. Suman watched the fleeing alien ships and began to suspect the truth. Admiral, I think there may have been a translation error. What kind of error? I think these people never requested military assistance. I think they are afraid of us. As if to confirm her words, more messages arrived from the panicking Villani. The translation spoke of mercy, peaceful intentions, and pleas to spare their civilization. Admiral Dong-hyun finally understood. We are not their rescuers. We are what they need rescuing from. Dr. Suman rushed to the communication station on Seoul's Hammer. If there had been a translation error, she needed to fix it quickly before something terrible happened. "Lieutenant Yuna, show me the original message we received," she ordered. Yuna brought up the alien signal on her screen. Dr. Suman studied it carefully, using her knowledge of linguistics to understand what might have gone wrong. "This is strange," she muttered, adjusting the translation parameters. The message structure does not match their current communications. Meanwhile, on the gentle current, Minji was doing the same thing. She was desperately trying to figure out how their peaceful request for help had turned into this nightmare. "Captain," she said to Hyunwoo, "I think our translation computer made a serious mistake." "What kind of mistake?" Minji showed him the original message they had sent to Earth. "We tried to tell them that help was coming for the beings in Sol system. But look at what the computer actually sent." The message on her screen was completely different from what they intended. Instead of offering help, it looked like they were asking for a demonstration of military power against threatening forces. "By the stars," Hyunwoo whispered. "We accidentally asked them to bring their fleet here. And they think we are either the ones being attacked or the ones doing the attacking," Minji added. Captain Hyunwoo felt sick. His peaceful species had caused the worst first contact disaster in galactic history. They had summoned an invasion fleet by accident. "Can we send a corrected message?" he asked. "I am trying," Minji said, working frantically at her controls. "But every time I send something, their translation system makes it worse." She tried sending a simple message. "We are peaceful. There is no danger here." But Earth's military translation computer was designed to understand combat communications. It interpreted her message as "hostilities terminated. Threat assessment complete." Admiral Donghyun received this translation and became even more confused. "They say the threat is complete? What does that mean?" Dr. Suman was getting similar results with her attempts to communicate. "Admiral, I think their language uses completely different concepts than ours. When we try to ask about military situations, they respond with things about peace and harmony. And when they try to tell us about peace, our computers think they are talking about military operations," Donghyun realized. The problem was getting worse. Both sides were trying harder to explain themselves, but each attempt only made the other side more frightened or confused. Lieutenant Yuna intercepted a message from the fleeing Villani ships. The translation made her go pale. "Admiral, they are calling for help from other species. They think we are invaders." "Invaders?" Donghyun was horrified. "We came here to help them." But from the Villani perspective, Earth's actions looked exactly like an invasion. A massive fleet of warships had appeared without warning. They were demanding information about enemy locations. They were scanning the planet with military sensors. Elder Cuban, the leader of the Villani government, was in an emergency meeting with his advisors. Through the windows of their council chamber, they could see Earth's massive fleet filling their sky. "How many ships do they have?" he asked the military advisor. "Over 200, Elder. Each one is larger than our biggest space station. Their weapons could destroy our entire planet." "What do they want?" "We cannot tell. Their messages keep talking about raiders and military operations. But there are no raiders here." Elder Cuban made a difficult decision. "Contact all Villani colonies in nearby systems. Tell them to evacuate immediately. If these aliens are conquerors, at least some of our people can escape." The evacuation orders went out across the Villani communication network. On dozens of worlds, peaceful aliens began fleeing their homes in terror. But this only made things worse for Earth's fleet. Their sensors detected ships leaving multiple star systems, and Admiral Donghyun thought he knew what was happening. "Commander Jinwoo," he said, "it looks like the raiders have backup. Multiple systems are launching ships." "Sir, should we pursue them?" "No," Dr. Suman interrupted. "Admiral, I do not think those are raiders. I think those are civilians evacuating because they are afraid of us." This was a horrible thought. If peaceful aliens were running away because they thought Earth was attacking them, then first contact had become a complete disaster. Meanwhile, the communication problems were getting even worse. Minji on the gentle current tried sending a message explaining that they were scientists, not military personnel. But Earth's computer translated this as "intelligence gathering complete, non-combatant status confirmed." Admiral Donghyun interpreted this as the aliens telling him they had finished spying on his fleet and were admitting they were not soldiers. This sounded like they might be pirates trying to seem innocent. "They claim to be non-combatants," he told Dr. Suman, "but They were the ones who called for military assistance in the first place. Unless they did not call for military assistance, she said. What if we misunderstood their original message too? Dr. Suman went back to study the very first signal Earth had received. She ran it through different translation protocols, trying to find an interpretation that made sense. Slowly, a different picture began to emerge. Instead of a distress call asking for military help, it looked like it might have been an offer to provide help to someone else. "Admiral," she said excitedly, "I think these aliens were trying to help us. Not ask us for help. Help us with what? They intercepted our military exercise communications. They thought we were really under attack by raiders, so they sent a message offering to get help for us." The truth was finally becoming clear, but it was almost too incredible to believe. The Villani had heard Earth's war games and thought humans were fighting for their lives. They had tried to be good neighbors by offering assistance, but both species' translation computers had turned this simple misunderstanding into a disaster. Earth thought the aliens were asking for military support. The Villani thought Earth was responding with an invasion force. "Can we fix this?" Admiral Donghyun asked. "I do not know," Dr. Suman admitted. "Every time we try to communicate, the translation gets worse. We need a completely different approach." The situation was spiraling out of control. Reports were coming in from Earth sensor operators about more ships launching from distant systems. The Villani evacuation was spreading across multiple star systems as word of the invasion spread. Captain Hyun-woo was dealing with similar reports on the Gentle Current. Alliance Command was asking why he had not warned them about the massive hostile fleet. Other Villani ships were demanding to know if their homeworld was under attack. "Minji," he said desperately, "you have to find a way to communicate with them. This is getting out of control." Minji had been working non-stop, trying different translation approaches. Finally, she had an idea. "Captain, what if we stop using our normal translation computer? What if we try to learn their language directly?" "That could take months," Hyun-woo said. "Not if we work together with them. If both sides try to learn instead of relying on computers, we might be able to understand each other." It was a desperate plan, but it might be their only hope. The alternative was to let the misunderstanding continue until it became a real war. On Seoul's Hammer, Dr. Suman was having the same thought. "Admiral, we need to bypass the translation computers entirely. We need direct communication with their linguists. How do we do that without making things worse?" "Very carefully," she said, "and with a lot of patience." Both sides began preparing for the most important translation effort in galactic history. The fate of two species and possibly many more depended on their ability to understand each other. But time was running out. With each passing hour, more Villani evacuated their homes, and more Earth ships arrived to deal with what they thought was a growing raider threat. The greatest miscommunication in space history was about to become something much worse. Dr. Suman and Minji began the most important translation project of their lives. Working across the communication link between Seoul's Hammer and the Gentle Current, they slowly started to understand each other's languages without using their broken computer systems. It was hard work. Dr. Suman would say a simple word in human language, then Minji would try to say the same concept in Villani. They started with basic ideas like numbers, colors, and simple objects. "1," Dr. Suman said clearly. "Tell," Minji replied, showing one finger to her video screen. 2. Knoll. Hour by hour, they built a foundation of understanding. Admiral Donghyun and Captain Hyun-woo watched nervously as their language experts worked. Around them, both fleets remained on high alert, waiting to see what would happen. Meanwhile, the evacuation of Villani colonies continued. Thousands of ships fled to distant systems, carrying millions of frightened aliens who thought their homeworld was being conquered. The panic was spreading faster than the truth could catch up. Dr. Suman, Admiral Donghyun said, "How much longer will this take?" "I do not know, Admiral, but we are making progress. I think I understand some of their basic concepts now." After 6 hours of careful work, Minji and Dr. Suman had learned enough to attempt simple sentences. They were ready to try explaining the real situation. Dr. Suman spoke slowly and clearly. "We came to help you." Minji understood the individual words, but the meaning seemed wrong. "Help us, but you brought warships." "Warships? To fight raiders, you asked for military help." "No," Minji said, finally seeing the problem. "We did not ask for help. We offered to help you. Dr. Suman blinked in surprise. You offered to help us? Yes. We heard your signals from Sol system. We thought raiders were attacking you. We sent message offering to find help for you. The revelation hit Dr. Suman like lightning. Oh no, you heard our military exercises. You thought we were really fighting. Military exercises? Minji looked confused. Dr. Suman explained as simply as she could. Practice fighting, training, no real enemies. No real danger. Minji's face went pale as she understood. So you were never in trouble? No. And you never asked us for military help? No, we tried to help you. Both women sat in stunned silence for a moment, realizing the enormity of the misunderstanding. Two species had nearly started a war because they had tried to help each other. Dr. Suman called Admiral Dongyun over. Admiral, I need to explain what really happened. She told him everything. How the Villani had intercepted Earth's war games and thought they were real combat. How they had tried to offer assistance. How both translation computers had turned helpful messages into military communications. Admiral Dongyun listened with growing amazement and horror. So they were trying to help us? Yes, sir. And we responded by bringing the largest invasion fleet in their history. And now their entire civilization thinks we are conquerors? Yes, sir. Admiral Dongyun sat down heavily in his command chair. In his entire military career, he had never faced a situation like this. How do you explain to an entire species that your massive Warfleet came in peace? On the gentle current, Minji was having the same conversation with Captain Hyunwoo. He listened in shock as she explained how their offer of help had been misunderstood as a request for military assistance. So they brought all those ships because they thought we asked them to? Hyunwoo said. Yes, Captain. They came to help us fight raiders that do not exist. And now our people are evacuating because they think these helpful aliens are invaders? Yes, Captain. Hyunwoo looked out at Earth's massive fleet, seeing it in a completely different light. Those were not conquest ships. They were rescue ships. Earth had sent their most powerful forces to help people they had never met before. Minji, he said quietly. What kind of species brings 200 warships to help strangers? I do not know, Captain. But I think we have met a very unusual people. Dr. Suman and Minji continued working together to establish better communication. Now that they understood the real problem, they could work much faster. Within another few hours, they had created a basic translation protocol that actually worked. The first clear message between the species was Admiral Dongyun apologizing for the terrifying arrival of his fleet. We are very sorry for frightening your people. His translated message said, We thought you needed help fighting raiders. We came as friends, not enemies. Captain Hyunwoo's reply was equally apologetic. We are sorry for the confusion. We thought you were in danger and tried to offer help. We never meant to call your Warfleet to our home. With clear communication finally established, both sides began the delicate process of explaining the situation to their respective peoples. Admiral Donghyun sent messages to Earth Command explaining the misunderstanding. Earth's military leaders were embarrassed but also impressed. Their first contact had been a disaster, but it had shown that humans were willing to send massive help to strangers in need. Captain Hyunwoo contacted Elder Cuban and the Villani government. The Elder was amazed to learn that the terrifying fleet had come to help them fight imaginary raiders. They brought all those ships just to help us? Elder Cuban asked. Yes, Elder. When they thought we were in danger, they sent their strongest forces to protect us. What kind of people do that for strangers? Good people, Elder. Very powerful, but good people. The hardest part was stopping the evacuation. Villani ships were scattered across dozens of star systems, and the panic had spread to other species as well. It took days to get messages to all the fleeing refugees explaining that Earth's fleet was friendly. Some of the evacuated Villani did not believe the explanation at first. A fleet that large could only be for conquest, they thought. But gradually, as no attacks came and the Earth ships remained peaceful, the truth began to sink in. Elder Cuban made a historic decision. He invited Admiral Dongyun to visit the Villani homeworld in person for proper first contact ceremonies. Admiral Dongyun accepted, but he had a problem. His fleet was so large and intimidating that most of the ships had to stay far away from the planet. He selected only one small escort vessel to accompany him down to the surface. The meeting between Elder Cuban and Admiral Dongyun was awkward at first. Both leaders were embarrassed by the massive misunderstanding, but soon they began to see the humor in the situation. So your people heard our military practice and thought we were fighting for our lives? Admiral Dongyan asked. Yes, Elder Cuban replied. And when you received our offer to help, you thought we were asking for military assistance? Yes, so we brought our best ships to fight your imaginary raiders. Both leaders started laughing. It was the most ridiculous first contact in galactic history. But the misunderstanding had unexpected results. Word of Earth's massive response spread throughout the galaxy faster than official reports could travel. Pirates, raiders, and hostile species heard that there was a species that responded to simple requests for help, with overwhelming military force. Elder Cuban received reports from across Villani space. Admiral, since your fleet arrived, we have had no pirate attacks anywhere in our territory. Really? Yes, it seems that raiders are avoiding any system where humans might be present. Your reputation has preceded you. Admiral Dongyan realized what had happened. We accidentally became the galaxy's scariest peacekeeping force. The most effective peacekeeping force, Elder Cuban corrected. Raiders fear you because they think helping people means bringing invasion fleets. Dr. Suman and Minji had become close friends during their translation work. They continued to collaborate, improving communication protocols between their species. Minji, Dr. Suman said during one of their conversations, "What do your people think of humans now?" "We think you are the most wonderfully terrifying friends anyone could ask for," Minji replied. "When you care about someone, you really care. And what do you think will happen now?" "I think pirates and raiders throughout the galaxy are going to find new jobs," Minji said with a smile. "Who wants to attack peaceful species when their friends might respond with 200 warships?" Commander Jinwoo summed up the situation perfectly during a briefing with Admiral Donghyun. "Sir, we accidentally solved the raider problem for half the galaxy just by showing up. How did we do that?" Word has spread that humans consider massive military response to be normal neighborly assistance. Every criminal organization in this sector is staying far away from any species that might be our friends. Admiral Donghyun shook his head in amazement. Earth had become the most feared peacekeepers in the galaxy through pure miscommunication. The Villani erected a monument to commemorate their first contact with humanity. The inscription read, "To our human friends who came with 200 ships to help us fight enemies that did not exist. We could not ask for better neighbors." And throughout the galaxy, in cantinas and trading posts, pirates and raiders told stories about the species that responded to distress calls with invasion fleets. Most decided it was safer to find honest work. Earth had become the galaxy's most effective police force, all because they had tried to be helpful.